What up, sexy world travelers? This is your boy, Big Sexy. This is the part of the show where we want to thank our big, sexy world travelers. Now, what makes a sexy world traveler a big, sexy world traveler, you ask? Well, big, sexy world travelers made their way over to our Patreon page at www.patreon.com/bigsexydigitalnomad, or better yet, bullwiththebutthole.com, and became supporters of Big Sexy Digital Nomad. So we want to say thank you to Jesus, Galen Diggs, Smitty Scoop, Angel Quo, Bree, Chris and Lisa Lowry at gowithlisa.com, Sebastian Robbins, Margaret White, Lee Popsicle, and Joshua Tarr. And we want to send a very special thanks to the sponsors of our podcast, Billy and Larissa, over there at cruisehabit.com. To check out their site, go to cruisehabit.com/BSDN or cruisehabit.com/bigsexy. If you too would like to be a big, sexy world traveler and support this podcast, swing on over to bullwiththebutthole.com. That will take you to our Patreon page, where for as low as $1 a month, you too can become a big, sexy world traveler and have your name read at the start of our show. We thank you all for listening. Safe travels.
Introduce a friend of mine, a fellow hypnotist, an author, an entrepreneur, Jim Kellner. Good morning where you are, right? Yeah, you're in Seattle.
As much as I love the show and I miss my fellow castmates, you can't do me dirty and just stay around.
I would say probably my secret to success is just being fairly likable.
When I tell them my co-host is a hypnotist and a lawyer, and then the brain puts those together and says, "Oh, he must have very interesting court cases." No, he's not hypnotizing.
Right, exactly. He's doing.
Certainly wouldn't admit to it.
Yeah, so I look like some kind of jackass unprofessional because I'm lugging my gear around. I'm like, I would rather even pay money and show up with my own sound system just in case I need it, because when things go wrong, when the sound's bad, when the lighting's bad, all these things, they might say the sound was bad, but you know what they're going to say? Oh, that performer sucked. It falls on you guys. It falls on us, right? Yeah. Your life sucks. If it doesn't, the book's not for you.
Whatever you imagine when you think of cruising might be both right and wrong, because cruising isn't one thing. I'm Bill from cruisehabit.com, and I'm a digital nomad working from ship and shore who loves sharing information to make sure people take the right cruises for them. Follow our adventures, enjoy tip videos, ship tours, and more in print and on our YouTube channel. Just visit cruisehabit.com/BSDN. We even host group cruises where you can cruise with us and get special treatment. Again, that's cruisehabit.com/BSDN or cruisehabit.com/bigsexy, whatever you'll remember.
What's going on, world travelers? This is Judge Mentalist coming at you with another exciting episode of Big Sexy Digital Nomad. You might think that you don't know what day of the week it is because we're releasing a regular episode, but we've got a guest that we're going to interview today here on a Wednesday when we drop our normal episodes, not on those bonus Saturday episodes, because this one is just that special. But here's your host, Big Sexy. What's going on, my friend?
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Whenever this is hitting your ear holes, I hope that it is good. Yeah, it was kind of funny, actually. You surprised me with, I got a guest for the show, and it was pretty interesting how in simpatico you and I are, because I almost had a guest for the show as well, a girl who's a hypnotherapist. She'll be a bonus episode in the near future. But was almost going to come and be a guest here, but she was just unable to make the scheduling work out. I was having some reservations as well, so it'll be interesting to chat with her But apparently hypnosis is in the air.
Yeah, welcome to my hold my
Indeed.
beer moment. Yeah, so without further ado, I will introduce a friend of mine, a fellow hypnotist, an author, an entrepreneur. I'm just gonna let him get into it. Jim Kellner. Good morning, where you are, right? Yeah, you're in Seattle.
Still morning. Yes, a little bit more. Yeah, and future digital nomad, I hope. That's definitely on my list.
Definitely do it. It's a pretty amazing lifestyle, I'll tell you what.
Right on. And you're in one of the places that I want to be, Playa del Carmen.
Yeah, it's absolutely gorgeous. All our listeners and followers have seen me post daily pool pics. We do happen to have apparently the nicest rooftop pool in Playa del Carmen, according to all the other real estate agents and neighbors that we talk to. We have an infinity pool that looks out over I think the Gulf of Mexico. Right across is Cozumel, so you can see Cozumel in the distance. And it's really nice. Although we did look at a new place today that's literally right across the street from where we are now. And I'll tell you the trick is become good friends with the staff and security and clientele of wherever you're staying, if you're only staying temporarily. Because if you have to leave, then they'll still welcome you in like you never left, and they know you, and it's going to be good. So even if wherever we end up, I'll still have access to this rooftop pool.
Nice.
That is phenomenal and amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's amazing what being a cool person can get you in life, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And being cool,
nice, and friendly, and loving.
Yeah.
It'll take you really, really far.
Usually, yeah, the answer to that question is so much, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like to say, be cool unto others, and they will be cool to you, mostly.
Yeah. Right.
Certainly enough to make a difference, that's for sure.
Exactly.
And that's really all that matters.
It does come back. It definitely does come back. We've been in situations where we've met people, and for whatever reason we get in a jam or a bind, but because we were cool and fun, they've been willing to help us out and take care of us. And man, we've got along via the support of people. It's a great way to walk through life, and I've seen it work in the opposite direction. I've seen people who were assholes to folks.
Oh,
and then the time came they needed help, and it was like crickets.
Oh, yeah.
No one's there.
I had a funny experience when I first started doing comedy stage hypnosis. The one of the people that was like the big time person in my area kind of just shunned me completely. Told stories about how awful my show was to bookers and stuff, even though this person had never seen the show. Felt like there was competition, and I was just trying to reach out to be friendly, and I got no reply back. Years later, he's hitting me up wanting to know, hey, what kind of marketing's working these days? Hey, you want to do a seminar together? This kind of stuff. And I'm like, yeah, no.
No.
Yeah. He's on the decline. So
yeah, my listeners are what we call the story that when I was in Vegas and I was doing Evil Dead the musical, my then music director behind my back and to the other cast members would call me Big Stupid, and also told the director that I can't sing and I shouldn't be given a main stage part, right? A mainstay. I was always kept swing. And the director, for whatever reason, listened to him. And so when my contract time came up, I left the show. I said, fuck you. Thank you, but fuck you. You can always go to hell. As much as I love the show and I miss my fellow castmates, you can't do me dirty and me stay around, right?
Yeah.
Not even a year, like 6 months later, somebody was asking around that they were looking to have this really big project, and they needed a music director for it. And this dude's name came up, and I was very vocal in about everything that happened.
Yeah.
And they're like, "Oh man, thanks. We had no idea. Yeah, we were really looking strongly." And I said, "Just don't.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and it's a lesson like you never realize how small the world is.
Exactly.
Right. So
Exactly.
you never know when being a dick or being an asshole is going to come to bite you in it, and
Yeah.
and vice versa. You never know when being wonderful and lovely is going to come back around, and somebody is going to treat you a certain way because they've heard good things about you. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Absolutely. In
Awesome.
fact, I would say probably my secret to success is just being fairly likable. So,
Goes a long way.
you know,
How long
easy
have
to,
you been doing hypnosis?
I've been doing hypnosis for about, I think about 12 years now, professionally, doing shows for 10. But I was an
Awesome.
You started in therapy, right?
Yeah, I started with therapy. I did therapy for about a year and a half, and then I got lucky. Again, being cool. One of my I'd done stand up before, and one of this guy who I had taken to his first open mic because I'd already been doing stand up. He opened his own comedy club, and he said, "Hey, you want to come do a comedy hypnosis show?" And I took Richard Branson's advice, and he says, if you're given an opportunity and you don't know how to do it, accept it and learn.
Say yes.
So
Say yes and learn.
hell yes. Hell yes. And I said, let's book it for 6 months from now. I'll have plenty of time to get ready. And it was fantastic.
Awesome. And how did you two meet?
I remember originally
we connected shortly after I got into the hypnosis world, but the first time we met in person was at the Performing Hypnosis Summit.
Was it there? Okay.
I guess it was earlier this year in January, February, whenever that was. I think it was February, but it moved back. Yeah, the upcoming year. That was probably the first time we met in person. Yeah.
I got to tell you, you've really, I know that you haven't. It hasn't been that long since you've been doing it, but you are really, you're really just killing it. It seems like you're really going after it.
It's I have a belief that anything that's worth doing is worth doing right, and I'm not. And obviously, you've gone to many of the same conferences, even more than I have. The very first time, PHS, I think, was my first hypnosis. I've been to plenty of magic conventions or whatnot over the years, but to really just kind of be, I was taken aback at the number of people there that not only had not done a show at all, but did not seem to be highly motivated to take that first step to doing a show. And then even in the it's almost been a year since that, I guess, there's this next little pocket of people that seem to be incredibly satisfied doing a handful of shows a year, as they come up here, there, or wherever, which I guess is fun. But at least for me, and I'd like to think that I'm not alone in this regard, is that the more flight time I get, the more frequency that I'm performing, the smoother things get, the more solid things get, the more time I have to experience the art of what I'm doing. And I'm sure I've talked about it on here, maybe not at this angle, but a month ago I was out in Oregon with Alan Sands and Misty Knight doing their boot camp. It gave me the opportunity to do 7 shows in 5 days. And I decided before I did the first show that, hey, I'm going to stick with this particular set list, and then I'm going to evolve this over the course of the week. And being able to just jump in and do it frequently is really what makes that happen. And it was kind of weird. This past week I rewrote a brand new show and performed it completely cold for the first time, knowing, because I'm about to go, actually at the time that this episode drops, so if anybody's listening and you're in Western New York, get your ass to Rochester, New York. Tonight, Wednesday, is the first of my 5 shows at the Rochester Fringe Festival. If you can't get here today, I got 2 Saturday, 2 Sunday upcoming.
Exciting.
And it'll be largely this set list. There's a few things that I'm going to tweak in it. And I can tell you right now, and I'm not telling you to wait and come to one of the later shows, but like the comparison of the show I did last Tuesday or show number 1 that I'll do tonight at the time that you're listening to this, if you're listening to it, you know, when it drops compared to Saturday or Sunday's shows, are going to be night and day differences because you're in there, you're playing in the sandbox. And, you know, the beautiful thing about what we do on stage is that there really are no rules. So, you know, you get a good idea, you get a crazy, you know, reaction from somebody that you like to try to replicate or see how we can do something, you know, can we take this a little further next time or whatever it is. Like, I think that's one of the things that made me fall in love with this almost immediately was that it's a playground. And as long as you're in there trying to have fun, it should always be a playground to just come and play around with ideas. And, you know, I don't know what you've been doing this for, like you said, you've been doing performance now for 10 plus years. I'm sure you're seeing a lot of the same kind of, you know, the ability to just, hey, I love the angle that this went that one time. And, you know, let's do it again. So yeah, it's been a lot of fun. And I was clipping up video of, I want to say like my 3rd or 4th show the other day, and I was just like, man, I got so much better than that guy.
Yeah.
Looking back is always cringe.
And the thinking back is one thing. I'm like, oh God, what's my show going to be like next year? Because that's what I'm looking forward to. Like, I'm always thinking about, hey, how do I get better? How do I make this better? How do I get bigger? How do I, you know, share this with more people? And, you know, it's cool to be able to objectively see that I've improved, but then also know that I'm nowhere near, you know, the pinnacle of what I'm capable of doing with this. So, you know, the adventure continues.
And Jim, what pulled you out of therapy and into performance? Or I don't know if you're doing both at the same time, but what kind of fostered that transition?
Well, so I have this kind of competing forces within me. I have this want and need to be funny, but I also have this want and need to help people. And so, you know, started off, I was an actor. I actually took acting classes to get over my shyness, and it helped a lot. I used to be incredibly socially awkward and shy. So I did that. And then, you know, I was doing stand up, but when I was doing stand up, I couldn't, I wish I would have, if I would have stuck with it, I would have spun it in a way where I could be sort of maybe inspirational, motivational as well. Sort of like what Steve Harvey is doing, you know, like recently, you know, he's been more he's still funny, but he's kind of motivational. He's kind of like somebody I want to emulate. So I had these competing forces, and that's what I love about hypnosis, because I can do both, you know, but I'll tell you, it is tough. So I was actually speaking to a speaking coach yesterday, because I want to move more into speaking, but it's this thing where I remember this thing one time I posted something about when I, you know, just helped somebody quit smoking. What a great feeling that is. And somebody commented below, well, how can you be so funny like all my other social media posts, but you can still help people? And I'm like, well, it's because I'm, you know, but people want to pigeonhole you know? Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I get it all the time.
We tend to think of,
people, they see me pushing my shows and they're like, I thought you were a lawyer. I'm like, why not both? Why not both?
Exactly. You know, it's really tough for people to see you in different ways, you know, and it's one of the things I've struggled with, you know, try to be, in fact, I used to be a little more maybe sexually suggestive, this kind of thing on social media. And I've kind of cut all of that out. And then I sort of went serious for a while. And then I had a couple of people tell me, well, I kind of missed the old stuff. And I was talking with a business coach then, and he was recommending, you know, how can you, you know, post things that are funny, but also inspirational. So it's something I'm always kind of wrestling with, but yeah, it's funny how people just kind of pigeonhole you.
Then they do. People have it's crazy how hard people have with seeing a dichotomy within the same person. I mean, I love
Yeah.
watching people's reactions when I tell them my co-host is a hypnotist and a lawyer. You
Yeah,
know,
exactly. Yeah.
and then the brain puts those together. So, oh, he must have very interesting court cases. No, he's not hypnotizing
Right. Exactly.
jurors.
He's,
Like,
he's
what are
doing
you talking
Certainly
about?
law.
wouldn't certainly wouldn't admit to it.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Exactly. So no, his words are just that good that he rarely loses a case.
Exactly.
Put that together as your own. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that duality is difficult for some, which is dumb and stupid. People can be more than one thing.
Yeah. Absolutely. If we could too, I'd love to circle back to what you said, Judge, about you couldn't believe how many people still weren't pushing them, out there actually doing shows at all or doing any at all. And I get what you mean about, when I first started, I was doing like maybe a show once every couple months, and it wasn't until I started doing it. It's not until you start doing them regularly that you get better, right? Because it's like every single time you're like, oh, now I have to remember my set list again and do all this stuff, and it just becomes a lot smoother. So the more you do, the better you get. But I was just talking to somebody yesterday. Like I'm really, when I first went to HypnoThoughts, which was my first hypnosis conference, I met all of these people who knew so much about hypnosis, and frankly, more than I did. They know all the protocols, all the techniques, all this stuff, but they've not worked with a single client because they can't push themselves out there to go, actually work with a client, charge somebody, open an office, start a Zoom practice or something. And it's, man, I
They
immediately
really
was
don't
like,
know.
yeah. And I was,
Theory is one thing.
oh yeah. So I immediately was like, okay, I'm going to present next year if I can. I'm going to put in a presentation called Launch Your Hypnosis Career Now. So I teach this thing, and it's really is this step by step. Do these things. I still, I'll get a couple people that'll actually launch. The rest of them, man, you talk to them a couple years later. See any clients do any shows? No. I gotta get this one thing. People won't even pull the trigger on getting a website. I'm like, guys, it doesn't freaking matter. Just get anything. You can always get something else later. It's
Just
so
get a
I
landing
think
page.
Exactly, a landing page. Yeah,
Incredibly valuable for me to know, because PHS was my first conference, and I think I even messaged you as like within a week of getting home, being like, bro, I'm coming back next year. I'm presenting next year, and my topic is going to be, stage hypnosis, surviving year one, and exactly the same kind of trigger of like, I need to help these people that can't launch. I need to help these people not make, because I think it's more important within the early stages of a career. And I don't care whether it's performing hypnosis, starting a law office, becoming a digital nomad, whatever, name your industry here. It's more valuable for you to have a list of 5 to 10 things to not do, because they're going to bury you, than here's 3 things that you should do. That to me is the balance. Like, I'll give you 5 things or 10 things not to do for every 3 that you should do, because it's that important to avoid pitfalls. And
I always give people here are the pitfalls you will not avoid. These are the pitfalls you are going to fall into. No matter, even if I give you advanced knowledge that this pothole is in the road, you're gonna drive over it.
You can't avoid absolutely. It. You're gonna fail. That's what I tell them. Look, you're gonna fail. It's gonna happen. You're gonna have a crap show. As a performer, we've all had a crap show, at least one, right? Sometimes
I don't know what you're talking about there, Jim.
Exactly.
In my many years of performance, not once ever, not even when my pants fell down on stage, it was still a good show.
Some people said it was a better show when your pants fell down on stage.
That's how he got the nickname, right? Big Sexy.
Definitely a different show. Yeah,
that was one of the quality warnings that I didn't get right away, but close enough to right away, because I did my initial training. Within a month and a half, I did my first show, and it was
nice,
off the charts. And then before my second and third show that were like right back to back, I was back out in Vegas and spending some time with Kevin Lapine, who was my original trainer. And he's like, look, I'm just going to let you know, sometime in the next handful of shows here, you are going to bomb. Don't worry about it. It's going to happen. And I definitely, I won't say that I've had a show that I would say qualified as bombing, but there are definitely, I can chart my shows in a this one was the best and this one wasn't, and they all fit somewhere, for sure. But it's good to know that, because you've got people who, you know, let's say they have a great first, second, third show and they feel like they're cruising along. And a lot of times this kind of stuff will happen because you haven't, you know, there's a gap like what you experienced and what I still experience. Sometimes I have a month and a half between two shows. You know, I thrive and strive for these opportunities to do, you know, like the Fringe Festival. Hey, here's 5 shows in 5 days. Awesome. There was 7 shows in 5 days. Any of those kind of opportunities are great for me. I love it. But just, you know, to know not to get discouraged, you didn't lose it just because you had a shit show, you know?
Oh yeah.
And it could come from a variety of different reasons. I mean, you don't, you know, the best that you can be. And I think that, you know, between improv and what we do are probably the most important types of things to really, not to say that it's not important everywhere, but to really be in the room, so to speak, and know what's going on. But like, you really can't know what's going on just outside of the room before people came in the room. And, you know, if you're doing a corporate or something like that, and something happened that there's no way you could possibly know about, that's completely just killed the mood, you're battling an uphill battle that you don't even know is an uphill battle. And, you know, it's to have people experience that, not knowing that it's coming, because it's there. You know, you may have to walk and turn a few corners before it sneaks up on you, but it's coming, it's there. But to not be discouraged by it and know that, look, learn what you can from what didn't go right and move on, you know?
Yeah. Jim, when you think of any of your previous shows that have bombed, are there any giant memorable ones that come to mind when you think of that?
Oh yeah. I've got a long list.
12 years.
Yeah. So here's the thing. And, you know, this is such a great topic, because so often, you know, when you're looking at YouTube videos, you're not looking at people's failed shows, right? You're not looking at the ones where they bombed.
Not unless they're catered specifically for that topic. Right.
Exactly. Yeah. And a great lesson comes from street hypnosis. You know, when I have had people tell me, I mean, people that have been in this industry for 20 years who've hypnotized thousands of people will say, you know what, I tried that once, and you know, it didn't go as I'd hoped. You know, I hate to call it failure. I just say it didn't go as I'd planned, but you know, but I didn't do it right. And I'd watch this other person's videos and they hypnotize everybody every single time. And I'm like, do you realize that's a video? They've cut it. You can't, or they're actors, or it's reinductions. I mean, you can't succeed at hypnotizing people every single time. I know there's a lot of training out there that claims that you can, but I'm a trainer. I'll tell you, you can't. You can hypnotize more people more often. But one of my favorite terrible experiences was I did a fair. It was a small fair, and I was like, oh, this is awesome. You know, maybe I'll get into the fair market. And it was down in Arizona. Temperature, it was in the summer, so temperature 100 plus. Right. So it's like, and this is what happens a lot of times, is it almost seems like the booker, the you know, like they just don't get it. They don't understand what we need. And that's actually been, because I'd say of all the performing I've done, hypnosis shows are the most precarious. You know, you got to have certain things stacked right to have a really great show. You know, that means the time of day. You know, is it going to be 3 p.m. a corporate show, 3 p.m. in a conference room? with crappy lighting and crappy sound.
Right.
It's tough to overcome that. This was a fair where they schedule me. So the fair opens at 10 a.m. and they schedule my show at 10 a.m.
Oh,
So I'm supposed to start.
no.
Yeah, exactly. The other thing was it was blazing hot. So the stage is covered, but guys, the audience area, the seating area, which was hay bales, was not covered.
Not covered.
Who could possibly sit under that kind of heat and watch it? So I actually had people over in this beer garden that was like 40 feet away. They were standing under an awning at the beer garden watching the show, which, I mean, that's not great. Comedy, you want people stacked tight. You want them up close.
Yeah.
And it was terrible. So I had terrible, so it was tough to get volunteers. Number one, I mostly just had a bunch of kids. Really tough to get volunteers up there. And then when I did, the hypnosis wasn't landing most of the time. It just wasn't working. And I literally thought, oh my God, I have lost my ability to hypnotize people. What is going wrong here? I'm sure, I'm watching the video. Nope. Did it just like I always do. I called up Salish Jawan, who's like a leader in our industry. He's one of the best in the world. I go, Salish, I don't know what's going on, man. I literally think I forgot how to hypnotize people. He goes, I'm going to tell you a sentence. You're going to remember this. It's a fair. Like, what do you mean? It's a fair. They suck unless you're doing a big fair. Like if you're doing something like the one in Phoenix where it's a big fair and like Tyson headlines that one, and he's phenomenal. But this was a tiny little fair, tiny little area, and again, there's no cover. They had me no evening shows because the people there like to listen to music. So
Right.
and my magician friend who was working. What's that?
Was it a themed fair, or was it just like, just a general county fair?
Just a general county one. Yeah. And my buddy, who's a magician, he actually does mentalism too. Actually, the first time I saw mentalism, he did it at a comedy club, 20 years ago. And I was blown away. I was like, oh, Lord, this is crazy. He told me, he goes, here's the thing. I go, why are they scheduling me like this? He goes, look, they don't think about that. What they do, they're checking boxes. Okay, we've got a magician, we've got a hypnotist. So they have no investment. I also did a show one time. They followed none of my directions on the artist writer. I mean, it was unbelievable. And then, at least the fair, they were cool. They didn't really say anything to him. I actually hypnotized the manager's kids. So they were pretty happy with it because, I mean, they're just checking boxes. But I remember this one woman who had, so everything is in my rider. People say, oh, you got to have a right. Everything is there. They didn't have the right setup for my sound. I had to jerry rig that. They had these tall chairs, the kind that you tell them not to have. So if somebody goes out, they're going to fall on the floor. Right. The separation from the audience to the people on stage was 30 feet. The lighting was bad. They had me in an area that was actually dark. The rest of the area was lit, and things were winding down. It was ending the whole event. People had had dinner and they were leaving. And the lady, when she's like, well, I'll pay the invoice tomorrow. And I was like, that's fine. She just gave me this disappointed look. And I'm like, F you, lady. This is your fault. I can only do so much. So, yeah, that was irritating. I get fired up thinking about it. Like, oh, come on, people. Help me out. You're paying a lot of money. Why not read the artist writers so we can have a good show?
Yeah, and there's really only so much that you could do to kind of insulate yourself against that, especially the bigger shows that you're doing, because it's not like you can cart along the proper number of proper chairs for,
exactly
a headline stage or a sound system. Like, you want to throw me in an auditorium, like a cafeteria or a gymnasium or something like that. I got a speaker, Bose has this great speaker that has all of the stuff integrated on board, and it's amazing, that will pump the shit out of that room. But you put me in a proper theater without a sound system, I can't catch up to that,
Yeah,
And then, of course, the show's going to suck. You got me talking into a paper cup.
exactly.
Right.
So
Right.
It's
What do you
very
expect?
precarious.
Where people need to be hearing me crisp and clear. I'm
Yep.
all right. Stop close your eyes. Count to three.
Yeah,
Three.
exactly.
I mean, that's the
Yeah.
one thing. I've got the microphone that I like to use, and I've got a like a 2-piece wireless receiver and transmitter and receiver system that if I'm traveling, that thing's under my pillow. Like it comes with me. Everything else is replaceable somewhere else. And don't get me wrong, I could replace all that stuff if there's a Guitar Center or whatever nearby. But just having, it's very commonplace. It probably it should be an SM58 should be in every damn theater that exists. But the boy, oh boy, I bet you the first time I don't take it with me is the first time I show up to a venue that doesn't have one.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. The first time you're without it, it was the first time you need it and don't have it. That's why I always take it. That's the saying, right? Better to have and not need than need and not have, because holy shit, that's the thing.
Yeah, I'm the same
That's
way.
a real thing.
I travel with my wired SM58, and I also travel with the wireless, because I found that wireless is just sometimes it's unreliable, so I don't want to take a chance. So I've always got that backup SM58, and I most of the time, it was just, I think this was one of those times when I was traveling and it wasn't convenient, but actually I have the big Passport. And it's gigantic. It's small. It's 50 pounds, but it's pretty big. It's bulky, so I didn't carry it. But I got the what it's called now, but it's the JBL small speaker that's like the Bose S1. And I try to always have some kind of sound system with me, even when I'm traveling. If I've got now that I got the small one, and it's so funny because if you post something in the group. Like in the Performing Hypnosis group or Expert Hypnotist, and you say, hey, I'm looking for a really good portable system. You get all these people that only work colleges, and they will say, or all these other kind of gigs that apparently you don't have to bring systems, but they'll say, oh, just put it in your rider that they have to do the sound. And I'm like, dude, I've done that. It's in there. I've tried everything. I have them initial it now. I actually have, it's a separate document now, and they have to initial it. I send it through sign request. And so hopefully that helps, but I'll talk to, if they've got a tech crew, I'll talk to the tech crew. I've talked to the person, I've tried everything, and still they won't have the setup that I need. So it's really irritating. And it's so funny. The last time I posted about that, I was trying to figure out if I should get the S1 or the JBL. And all these people going, oh, you need a better writer. You're not a stagehand and all this stuff. And I'm like, well, but I want to have a good show. And then I get calls from people. They won't comment underneath. But they call me and go, oh no, I got the S1. I got this and that. And I'm like, well, why don't you throw some support my way? You saw the post.
Right. How about instead of direct messaging me, you put that in the comments, homie?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I look like a jackass.
Algorithm?
Yeah, so I look like some kind of jackass unprofessional because I'm lugging my gear around. I'm like, look, I would rather even pay money and show up with my own sound system just in case I need it, because you know what happens, guys, when things go wrong, when the sound's bad, when the lighting's bad, all these things, when people leave, are they going, oh yeah, the sound was bad, that's why the show sucked? They might say the sound was bad, but you know what they're going to say? Oh, that performer sucked.
This guy sucks.
Hypnosis show sucks, or Jim Kellner sucks. So it falls on you guys. It falls on us, right?
Yeah. As a DJ, I would, travel with, make sure I had my Bose, my laptop, whatever equipment may be necessary, even if the place already had a sound system.
Yeah.
Like I have it in my car, because I have been there when, oh man, we can't figure out why this HDMI is not plugging in, and this is not going with our normal tech guy is not here. I got it.
Oh, yeah.
Boom. Yeah. I don't need your sound system. I'll make it work.
And that's the key. So that the key to it is, because I did a show, I don't know how long ago it was, but we've talked about it here in Atlanta, Georgia. And we show up, it's in an auditorium, like a lecture hall at a college. And, I check all this stuff ahead of time. Is there a sound system? Is there this? I even do the shit where it's like, I want you to send me pictures of the connections. Okay.
Right.
Everything from 1,200 miles away looks great. We get there, we get in, it looks exactly the way that it looked when they relayed all this stuff to me. Now, the guy or gal who knows how to run this shit's nowhere to be seen, nowhere to be found. They've got a wireless mic system that's interfaced in, which worked and was great, but we could not get the sound, our sound, to hook up and run in this system to save our lives. One of the guys, this was a fraternity that hired us to do a fundraiser show for a nonprofit that they raise money for every year. And he's like, hold on. Their fraternity house was like a couple blocks away. He shows back up with this big, like, Bluetooth boombox thing that he puts up on stage. And for whatever reason, like, literally in the middle of my induction, it's like Bluetooth powering off.
Oh,
Bluetooth on.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I'm just like, and this was the day that I learned two lessons. Number one, just power on. Not that I didn't already know this, but just power on and ignore the shit that's happening around you. Nothing is wrong. Nothing is wrong. Just do your thing. And that none of that shit's really that important. As important as we want it to be as performers for the production value and the output and everything like that, none of it matters. You know, you don't have fancy sound cues running when you're doing street hypnosis, do you? No. So how much did it really matter when you were on stage? I mean, I talk to people about this all the time, because any opportunity that I have after a show to talk to my volunteers about their experience, I take it. I'll soak that up like
me too.
a sponge. Half the time, more than half the time, like, they don't even hear the music. They are so in whatever zone that they're in. The music that they're hearing is not the music I'm playing. It's whatever's playing in their head. It's whatever they're experiencing.
The music's definitely for the audience, not for the
definitely just for the audience. Exactly. So of course you want the show to be good, because otherwise you suck as far as the performer or the spectators are concerned. But yeah. So valuable. That and I'll tell you, it was that precipitated me buying the S1, which I always have on hand. And there's not, and it's like 14 pounds. So I'm not worried about it goes in any bag. I don't have to worry about the weight restrictions or anything like that. Like, next week or tonight, if you're listening to this live or when it drops, I'm doing this theater that I know because of other performances that I see them advertising that they put on regularly. They show movies in this theater. I know that they've got the proper setup. They also have itemized everything that they have for me. But if you think my shit's not going with me, you're lying to yourself.
Right.
It will be
100%.
there. But then I'm also the kind of guy that, like, doesn't balk at an opportunity to do this shit. So, like, I have shows Wednesday, and then I have a couple days off, and then 2 Saturday, 2 Sunday. You think I'm not going to do a show somewhere, somehow, for some group Thursday or Friday? You're damn right I am. I'm gonna find it. I don't know where it's gonna be. I don't know who it's gonna be with. I don't care. It's gonna happen.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna have all the equipment to do it. Oh, you need a show? I'll be there. Done.
It's a good way to look at it.
That was the hard thing about traveling, internationally, is the weight restrictions and the kind of equipment that I use for DJing or whatever, but I realized, well, the good news is places have things, if I need a sound system, I can buy one there. Push comes to shove. I'm looking to eventually get that S1 because,
they're so nice. Yeah.
I do so much field work. And to have that ability to do that anywhere, pay that, especially traveling around the world and, hitting so many different places. And not knowing what their requirements are going to be, what they have, what they don't have. I got it covered. Don't worry about it. Yeah.
Oh yeah. You feel like a hero too when they're like, like I went to this one place and they had it was in a school in the auditorium. They had a beautiful system. It was fantastic. It was locked, and the guy with the keys had gone home for the weekend.
Oh, of course.
And so, you're please. But dude, I go out there, I grab my Fender Passport, bring it in, and it's like,
Right. So show saved, money well spent.
Totally.
Yeah, I remember
Absolutely.
for Judge Mendeless and I are both listeners to a podcast, Ice Cream Social, and they have an event every year called Scoop Fest. And not this past Scoop Fest because I was in Spain or I was in California, whatever. But the Scoop Fest before that, I was hosting karaoke, and uh, I I borrowed all the equipment that I usually used, right? So I was hosting karaoke, and I borrowed equipment from the person I normally host karaoke with, and I normally trust that that's a system. I've used it before. I know how to work it, everything and ever. I get everything set up, and this motherfucker had changed the password on the laptop.
Oh,
and wasn't answering his phone.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah.
And I'm stuck there going, I can't get into this laptop. I need the one thing that I need to run this karaoke.
Yeah.
Right. I don't have access to. I'm flipping out. Luckily, Jacob Yato guy came to the rescue. We plugged his laptop in, and I was able to run it via his laptop. But just that, like, okay, so you know what? I'm never leaving home without my laptop again.
Yeah.
I would. That's one thing I didn't think I had to check.
Yeah.
That I said, okay, well, lesson learned. Lesson learned. I will make sure all I's are dotted, T's are crossed, and S's have the right kind of shape of curve in it. Yeah.
Well, that's especially challenging being a DJ. I mean, if you don't have sound, you got nothing. I mean, I can kind of, I can do a show without music. It's not as good, but right. Man, that's really tough.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially hosting karaoke when other people want to sing and you, I hope do you know the words? Cause I can hum a few bars, but good luck. Yeah.
And it's really tough to like hit one of those moments and not just think to yourself, your life sucks.
Exactly.
Which is the transition I've been waiting for to talk to Jim about your brand new book, Your Life Sucks.
There it is.
Look at that king of segues.
Look at that segue.
Boy. I was wondering when we were going to get. I was trying to figure out a way to segue too, but I'm like, whatever. They can see it in the background. Your life sucks. If it doesn't, the book's not for you.
So, what made you want to write the book? Was your life sucking at the time?
You know what? Really, my life has sucked a lot, and in the past, and I've always, it's funny. I was thinking about this, back in probably in elementary school, I was like 10, 11, 12, something like that. I turned in a paper on something, a writing paper. And my English teacher wrote back, she said, you're a great writer, very creative. And I was like, wow. And now I would love to be able to go back to her, look at the records or something and see if I actually was a good writer or if she just was giving me some positive reinforcement. But what it did is it kind of just lit in me like, oh, I'm a writer. And so it was always kind of there. And I've done some other writing. I've written some short plays in college and things like that, blog articles and stuff. But there's just so many, it's one of those things where you work with clients, enough, and even just seeing people around or like problems that I've had myself, and you go, wow, you know what? I need to help solve this. And at first I kind of resisted because I'm like, well, Anthony Robbins already talks about this and John Maxwell talks about it and stuff. But you never know what someone's going to experience that's going to really push them over the edge. So they may have already read all the other stuff and this may actually help them. And I literally I think every one of the topics that I covered, there's 9 of them in here, are issues that I've actually dealt with myself.
Okay.
And like the very first one,
personal experience.
I mean, it was so you're like, this is the third chapter. And it's the first main topic is, it's called Damn, I'm Pretty. It says, your words are powerful. I had this cause that's my kind of my brand. I sell merch and I make people I make a dude in my show stand up and say, "Damn, I'm pretty" when I say my name. But I had this dialogue going on in my mind when I was younger, and I can remember, like, I would get up in the morning and go, "Oh, you're running late, you lazy ass," and then I'd walk by the mirror and go, "Oh my God, you're so fat," drop my keys, "Oh, you're an idiot," and it was like being in a relationship with somebody who was a jerk, right? And they were with me all the time. I just kept telling it to myself, I couldn't get away from it. And I feel sorry for that old me. I really do. I actually, it brought me to tears when I was writing parts of this, because it's very autobiographical. And I can just going, wow, man, I was such a jerk to that previous version of me.
Awesome. And then how long did it take you to write this book? Because I'm
Far
trying
too
to write
long.
now. Yeah, I'm trying to write now, and it's taken a few years I'm writing a musical, so it's taking a few years. So I'm always love to talk to another writer, because unlike you, I don't consider myself a writer, even though I write. Right, like I write poetry, I write parody songs. I've written short plays in college or whatever. And I decided to write my first full-length musical for some fucking reason. And
I know it's like, it doesn't make sense logically, honestly, because the chances of like it becoming big or something like that are so nil. But boy, there's just there's something, and this is one of the things that I think about. Is that there are just some of us that are just compelled to do big things, regardless of the reward, regardless of what we get out of it. We're just compelled. And, damn it, sometimes I wish I wasn't, but I think you got the curse, man.
Yeah, this is true. I mean, and Judge has been witness to a situation where we will say something offhandedly, or we'll sing a little song lyric, and my brain, I go, fuck, now I got to write that song. and then I'll come back the following week with the song written, the words taken care of, whatever. And that happened with my musical. I was, working at the Stratosphere in Las Vegas in the reservation department, writing parody songs. And somebody was like, "Oh man, you writing a musical?" Oh, well, fuck, now I am.
And it's definitely a personality trait. It's definitely a drive, because I was doing this show that was kind of the first one that I put together, and it worked, so I kept doing it. And when I booked this Fringe Festival, it was one of the first times that I was going to be doing a run of shows that were solo shows, because a lot of times my show is couched with a stage partner, and it's a 2-act show. And I was like, I need a brand new show. Like, hit the dynamite, bring the Tropicana to the ground, and then build something else. So there is not a routine in this new show that I had previously done on stage before.
Yeah.
And I write it, and I do it, and I perform it, and it went well. And then, as I'm tweaking things, I'm like, it really could use something like this or like that. And then the light bulb went off. Why it didn't go off earlier? You're taking this show to Rochester, New York, a place where nobody has seen you perform. They don't know what's in the new show.
Yeah.
Right.
What's in the old show.
Right.
What's and there are no rules. Like, I make the rules. I want to do a show that has this, that, and that. Okay, fine, do it. But that urge to just, like, that idea was in my head of, you're writing a completely original new show that you've never done before. Go. There wasn't an option in my mind to reuse any old material. Yeah. So we're stuck with it.
I think also, as we, I've thought about this. So one of the first thing that I lead off with is a story about, my mom would always say, well, just be yourself. For some, it was like her cliche thing that she would just say, having a down day or something, well, just be yourself. And I just thought that was BS, because I'm like, should Adolf Hitler have just been himself, or would have been better if he was different? You think about a serial killer, I was like, and I didn't like my life at the time. And I'm like, I don't want to just be myself. My life sucks. I want to be something else. And so So I kind of, so the reason I mention this is because I do think, like you said, there's a personality trait, and I think there's also an entrepreneur personality trait. And I think that people can overcome it if they don't have it, but I think it's really challenging. And I think that's what we run into with those folks that just can't seem to push themselves to go out there and do the thing, to
Right.
go be an actor, to go, open up a hypnotherapy practice, to, just see one client, to do one show. There's just, and I actually saw a video a while back, probably on TikTok, spent too much time on there. And it kind of said that that probably evolutionarily speaking, there were like the folks that had to, they went out and hunted, they went out and did the farming, that kind of stuff. And then there was the other group that were like, oh, how could we do this differently? What if we did something else? So they weren't necessarily the ones that were out doing the hunting, doing the farming, but they were the entrepreneurs. And so it's kind of, I think it's in our genes. I really do. I think there's entrepreneurship is in our genes for some of us.
I hate it because
we can't,
I'm in the middle.
You can resist it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I hate it because I'm in the middle. It's funny being in that middle because there are of course dozens of projects where I have not pulled the trigger on or advanced forward.
Mm-hmm.
Like I have a series of improv workshops that would make a decent amount of money if I put them out, and I don't. Right. But on the flip side, me and a relative stranger started a podcast, and now we've done over 100 episodes, right? Like out of our just, let's just do it, and get it done. I flip
Just
off
do it.
like, oh, I have this, musical that I've been writing for the past, I don't know, 12 years or 7 years or whatever it is. But on the other side of that, I've written over 20 parody songs for it, right? Like, I do things, but I'm always like, I do try not to beat myself up, though it does happen occasionally, on the I'm not where I want to be. I haven't done the finished product yet, and I don't know what's holding me back from completing that. And it's fucking maddening because I know that I can do shit because I've done shit.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You've proven it.
It was like, why can't I do this other thing? And my wife
I will
was really
say,
good.
here's my advice to you, Biggs.
Yeah.
Don't worry about finishing it because you'll find another project right afterwards.
True.
Afterwards. There's probably part of you that's worried about, then what? When I'm done this, then what? You'll find another project. Don't worry about having something to do. You'll always have something to do.
I always. I mean, the good news is I will always have something to do. I do a lot of shit. But your book really intrigued me. Like, what methods do you utilize to fix a fucked up life?
Well, one thing I would say about that too is, sometimes, it really is like you just don't have time, right? You've got other things going on. But what I found is, and it's so funny because people will say this all the time, that they'll say like, oh wow, I wish I had more time to write a book. And I'm like, I don't have time to write a book. Nobody has time to write a book, right? Nobody has time to write a musical. Nobody has time to go to the gym. You make time for the things that are a priority. So what I finally did was, because I worked on it. It had been rolling around in my mind for a while. I actually started it during COVID. Back then it was called Be Better. It was called #BeBetter. And then this title just occurred to me one time based on somebody's Facebook post. I was like, God, your life sucks. Here's what you got to do,
Right.
But there are challenges that get in the way, and sometimes it just doesn't make sense. You've got these other projects and stuff that you're working on. As entrepreneurs, I think we've always got a bunch of stuff that we're doing. But one of the things, really, what I did is I decided, I will every morning when I get up, I'll do my shower, breakfast, walk, meditate, and then I write. And that's what I did for 1 hour. I said 1 hour a day, I'm going to write. And I missed some days, but I think just staying on that schedule really helped a lot because as soon as I get started with other stuff, it's not going to happen.
It's a wrap.
But some of the other stuff is I just kind of explain, well, like we talked about with shows in life, you're going to fail. You're going to fail. Get over it. stop blaming. That's one of the things that gets into a lot of people's way. It used to get in my way. In fact, so from childhood, I have this, I think it runs in my family. My default is to blame somebody or something else. So I could be sitting here all alone in my house and I could drop a glass on the floor. And my default is, that glass was too slippery, or, my wife did something, or the cat did. And I'm like, it's me, or it doesn't matter. You don't have to blame anybody, anything.
Question. Did you ever live by yourself?
Yes.
Coming up. Did you ever drop something and it sit there for days until eventually your brain said, no one else is here, I have to be the one to pick it up?
Yeah, I've been there. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, every now and then those thoughts hit me. Like I walk what am I doing? Like, why is it still sitting on the floor? I don't want this on the floor. It doesn't look good on the floor. No one's coming here to fix this shit.
No one's coming, right?
No one's gonna swing by. Oh, hey, Big Sexy, I heard you drop the glass on the floor. Here, let's pick that up for you. Let's go ahead and get that spill off the ground. Sorry. I was a downstairs neighbor. I heard it hit the ground. My bad. Let me come up and get that for you. That shit don't happen ever. Never.
Exactly.
Yeah, not without sexual favors. That don't ever happen.
That's all I gotta do to get somebody to come pick the glasses up in my house.
Sexual favors. Well, you have built-in glass picker uppers.
Yeah.
Oh, you do. Kids.
You bred. Yeah. Yeah. You bred chore workers. Now, of course, this is a Digital Nomad podcast, and we'll be reminiscent if we did not speak travel. You mentioned you were interested in being a digital nomad. Have you done a lot of traveling?
Yeah, I do a lot of traveling. It's so funny because, growing up, I thought, wow, I really want a job where I can travel a lot. And so when I got into stand-up, that was one of the things I thought, oh yes, if I can just get to the, that level where I can, do out of town gigs and stuff, I thought it'll be great. But what you don't realize is that, like, especially if you're the feature act, I remember back then I was only getting $100 a show. And I think they probably still pay that. They don't pay anything. The prices pay for comedians hasn't really gone up in like 20 years. I think 30 years, they say, for maybe even since like the 80s, I think is when, 80s or 90s. And also you end up, you go to a place, you think, oh, wow, that's cool. I'm going to, Winnemucca. All right, cool. I want to see Winnemucca. I'll get to see someplace. But the problem is you got to be in the next place. You got to get up early to drive to the next place, which is 5 or 6 hours away.
Yeah,
I did a lot of travel.
Place.
Yeah. But the great thing about doing comedy hypnosis is I get paid a lot more money. And so I can afford to, spend a few days in a location. And I do that. I don't like to just fly in and fly out unless I have to. So I always, my goal always is to arrive at least the day before, if not a couple days. And so, yeah, I get to see a lot of stuff. Honestly, a lot of times though, I'm just so kind of just want to hang out by myself and just, kind of watch free cable TV. So I don't know that I see a whole lot. But I'm looking forward to doing more international travel in the next couple of years. I'm applying for the Irish hypnotherapy conference. I'm looking at spending hopefully a month down in Mexico trying to coordinate the dates, but I'm hoping to go sometime between Thanksgiving right after Christmas. I've got some holiday bookings before the Performing Hypnosis Summit. So yeah, I'm definitely trying. And then Grant Saunders and I are putting on the Level Up Thailand retreat in March 2025. Oh, wow. Super excited about that. Yeah.
Yeah, so
you been to Thailand?
I have not yet. My wife lived there for years, but before us. And he always says, I want to take you to Thailand, and you need to go to Thailand. Apparently, Mexico and Thailand have a lot in common.
Yeah.
With weather and taxis opening up your butthole to get all your money out of it. And A different price for locals versus tourists, for the exact same thing. She said, yeah, this reminds me a lot of Thailand. I said, well, I'll go to Thailand because I know it's beautiful country. It's lush, it's green, it's gorgeous. People are friendly, like the people you meet are just friendly, whatever. But understand that the infrastructure is really going to try to, we keep saying, oh, is that a nice little booty hole you got there? Oh, why don't you bring that booty hole on over here? Let's open that up for you. Let's go ahead and open that up. Since you're that big, rich American booty hole, let's go ahead and get in that. So I'm prepared.
I have never heard that described in that way before. You're very what an interesting metaphor.
Yeah. We came up with that in Cancun. When we got off the plane, and the taxi wanted like over $200 American to bring us to Playa del Carmen, which was a 30-minute drive. I'm like, no, brother was like, yeah, come over here, man. Let's get in that booty hole.
Well, that's not even it. I would be sort of forgiving if it's a little bit, but boy, that much, Lord,
it's ridiculous. It was ridiculous. Yeah. My listeners heard me rail about on the previous episode, talking about how stupid the taxi madness, the taxi cartels here is a real fucking thing. It's a real thing. So be mindful. But yeah, awesome. Whatever. How much international travel have you done?
Really just Mexico and Canada. Well, actually, I went on a cruise one time, I guess. So there was Jamaica and the Caribbean and stuff, but it was just kind of a walk on and walk back off. Went to Cozumel. That was one of the places.
Okay. Yeah, we're very big on cruises here. Our sponsor is cruisehabit.com.
Cruisehabit.com, bitches.
Yeah, and they I love cruising. I absolutely 100% love cruising. Yeah. And Judge will tell you, when we first started this podcast, like we went to Spain via transatlantic cruise. Right.
Nice. Oh, how fun.
And actually, when we started the podcast, I had just come back from a cruise previously, Virgin Voyages, and we were planning we did one again. And Judge Mentalist, since we started the podcast, has taken his first 2 cruises.
3 that I've taken, 2 more are booked, and I had not been on one. And it was literally like we started talking about it within like 1 or 2 episodes of the podcast. And within like the first 3 episodes, I was like, all right, fine, got one booked. Let's go.
Yeah. So nice. Cruising is amazing. We love cruising here. Yeah.
I want to do the Alaska cruise. That one looks really awesome. I mean, in the summer, of course. It looks like it's just beautiful. Beautiful.
Same. We're hoping eventually to become big enough that we do a Big Sexy Digital Nomad cruise, do the Sexy World Traveler cruise, and have packages. There actually is possibly a magical cruise coming up soon, maybe in the works. I don't know the status of it. Judge can fill you in on that. But,
yeah, we're getting performers approved by Carnival, but we're basically backdooring a magic cruise where a private group will have event space and everything like that.
Nice.
Yeah. But if you get over to Europe, definitely check out tons of stuff. And if you have any questions about it, you can always reach out and ask. But yeah, seeing the world is amazing, and Mexico's is. A place I never thought I'd live. I visited it quite a few times, but now we'll be living here. It's very interesting. Awesome.
I've wanted to. You talked about Portugal earlier. I've for a long time I've been wanting to do the Camino de Santiago, the Pilgrim's Walk, and I wanted when I do that, it's so hard to coordinate the times when the weather's decent and I'm not booked. But I want to do the Portugal route, the seaside route. That looks amazing.
Right. Yeah, that looks phenomenal. We were going to live in Portugal. We went there one day, saw how hilly the country was, and we're like, nope, let's not do that. I can't do those hills every single day. My knees are not the greatest. My mind might be 28, but my knees are all of every 52 years old. Yeah, awesome. Well, if listeners want to get a hold of your book and if their life sucks and they want some assistance, where can they get a hold of it?
Yeah, if they go to my website, jimkellnerhypnotist.com, and then go to the tab books, or they can just put /books. They can actually read the first 3 chapters for free.
Oh, nice. Is this your first book? Or do you have other books?
I had another one that I co-wrote, and it's actually been about 9 years ago, but it was we were in such a rush to kind of get it out there. We didn't take the time to even have it edited, to be honest. And we created a cover in Canva, and it was just awful. I mean, we had some good response. We actually, when it was posted on Amazon, we had a couple of decent reviews, but there were typos. I mean, really the first page and stuff. So we pulled it, and then the plan was to get it edited and re-released. And then I realized, so I did that. I got it edited like about a year later. It's been sitting there for 7 years. I don't know why I never actually. That's on my list. So I'll be released. I don't want to step on Your Life Sucks. So I'm going to be releasing that in the spring. That one's called Navigating Success.
Now, for anybody who's interested in this book, it is on Amazon. The paperback's $8. Like, no excuse to not get it. And I have not read the whole thing yet. I have had some snippets, and I've been able to browse through it. And the very back of the book, there is a section with a couple of pages to just, when you have an aha moment, when you're reading through this book, flip back here and jot it down so you don't lose it. So,
I mean, spoiler alert for the end of the book.
To anybody who's out there that's like, you're feeling like you're stuck in a rut, or you're at a plateau for whatever reason or whatnot, if you're looking for the aha moment, hop onto Amazon to Your Life Sucks. $8. The book will be there. I mean, if you got Kindle, you get it right away. You don't even have to wait for your aha moment, because they're in there. They're waiting for you.
Yeah. So definitely listeners, go check that out.
You made a good point. I just want to say real quick, you made a good point about taking the notes. When I see I have a lot of books that I always try to keep them pristine, right? Oh, I don't want to get them marked up and stuff. Now what I do with personal development books is I write all over them. I scribble, I make notes, because what I've discovered is, you get that kind of endorphin hit or dopamine. I'm not sure which one. When you read something, you go, "Ooh, that's a good point he makes there." I shouldn't talk, poorly to myself. And then, a couple months later, you've completely forgotten it. But when you get in there and you start underlining stuff, literally, yeah, okay, that's a great term for it. I'm going to use that. And I did that for years. And that's, I'm like, and I'd make some progress because, just knowing these things helps. But it wasn't until I started really diving in and doing the exercises, doing the work. I love that. Literary cocaine.
Yeah. Yeah, there's so many episode titles in this movie. That's a little late for episode title, but still, I'll put that in the post notes. Excellent. And be sure we'll get the links. And Judge, Rochester Fringe is now.
It's now. So come out.
We've been talking about this for a while. It's crazy. It's now.
I will tell you right now, if you don't have tickets yet, I don't know how much walk up there's going to be, because there's only 108 seats in the theater that I'm performing at. And every week the ticket sales seem to double what sold the previous week, because I get a weekly update on ticket sales. Ooh. And I have, we've done what we can do to promote this show from a distance. But by the time we are there, what I have planned to roll out to make sure that they are turning people away at the door to my shows, it's going to happen. So if you don't have your tickets yet, you can check, maybe.
And how we feel about people not getting their tickets to the last fucking minute here on Big Sexy Digital Nomad. Go.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
No kidding.
Pick up your tickets.
Oh my God. And it's such as a conference organizer too, it makes it so difficult because we don't know what we can provide. Can we afford to buy lunch for everybody? Can we, have extra rooms? Can we give swag bags? We don't know, because, people are buying their tickets out last week or, stuff. And it's, man, it makes it challenging. So yeah, get those tickets in advance, man. I tell you what, it's so important.
I would say get the tickets, figure out how to get there later. Yeah, if you buy the
For
ticket,
sure,
you'll
for
figure
sure.
out how to
Totally.
get there.
Absolutely.
Yeah, make that point. Awesome. Well, Jim, it was a pleasure.
You know, it'd be
having
fun
you
if
on. Yes.
if I were out in that area.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, what would be fun is what I would love if I was out in that area. I would love to go watch your show that you've just rewritten that first night, and then come back the last night and see how it's progressed.
I can tell you right now, the way that I do things, there's going to be a big difference between just in the week of Fringe, show 1 and show 5, because I get dug in, and then I get ideas, and then the routines grow, and it's a ton of fun. So
you gotta don't buy just one ticket, buy 2, one for the first night, one for the last night. Hell, buy one for one in the middle just to see the transition. Give yourself a full arc of Judgment to the Show, a beginning, a middle, and end. Every story has a beginning, a middle, and an end. Don't do yourself the disservice of only getting the beginning of a story or a middle of a story or an end of a story. Get the whole thing. You hear her, buy 3 tickets.
But you got to buy the 4th ticket too, because you want the beginning, the middle, and the end. But either in show 2 or 4, you're going to want to volunteer and be up on stage, which means you're not going to see the same show that everybody else sees.
It's true.
Right.
So
there you go. So
just while you're at it, listen.
Just buy the 5th ticket. Just buy all 5 tickets.
Buy all 5. I've got swag. I've got T-shirts. You show me you've bought all 5 tickets.
Yeah.
There's a T-shirt waiting for you. No charge.
Yeah. We might even throw in one of Jim's books.
You buy all 5 tickets to my 5 shows, and I will buy Jim's book for you. And
we'll show you how to fix your life.
That's right.
Awesome. Well, again, thank you so much for being a guest on Big Sexy Digital Nomad. It was a pleasure to meet you. Very much so. When you come to Mexico, be sure to hit us up.
Oh, I will. Yeah. Hey, when you just a recommendation, set a goal. January 1st, you got a rough draft for your musical.
Oh, those goals have already been hit. What I need now is I did set a goal. I set my next goal is, so my birthday was Sunday. My next goal is before the end of September, I will have the second draft there's a theater in France, a company in France called Spin Cycle Theater, that they just finished doing the Edinburgh Fringe Festival. So now they're looking for new work and things of that nature. And they've already had an early copy of, I turned my full-length musical into a 1-act. So I am, I'm refine-tuning that to give them for 1-act. So the next year, I'm going to Edinburgh as a performer or director or producer, whatever it is, instead of just a participant. But yeah.
I'm glad to hear it.
Yeah, so my goal is by
Thanks, guys.
September 30th. So thank you very much.
Absolutely.
And folks, remember to swing on over to our sponsor at cruisehabit.com/BSDN. Definitely be sure to go check that out. If you want to join the Patreon, swing on over to bullwiththebutthole.com. Sign up for the Patreon community there. You get this one will go out to everybody. You'll see that because it's a regular episode, but our bonus episode videos are only for our Patreon members, and not just the paid Patreon. All Patreon members get the videos. Paid Patreon gets the bonus content, extra shit. But regular Patreon, just join the community. It's free. But if you want to support the community, you for as low as $1 a month, you can join and support. We'll read your name off at the beginning of every episode, and we really appreciate that. So thank you again. Thank you again to our guest, Jim. Really appreciate you. And in the meantime, safe travels.